Good, beautiful morning, everybody. Silas here today. We've got a lot of really cool things going on over the next 2 days. A lot of things are changing out here at the junkyard. Some big stuff is happening. I just got not one, not two, but 3 new things that are absolutely awesome. Are going to make my life much easier. We'll talk about those here in a second. But then also, I've got some big news about the shop back there. We'll talk about that later as well, though. First things first, we are going to cut the nose off of this old truck here. Now, this is definitely a good one to cut up because of how rusty it is. This truck is an absolute piece of junk. Honestly, I kind of got ripped off on this one here. I bought it based off of just a couple pictures, and the pictures that I got on this truck were from this side. But life goes on. It's all good. I'll still make a little bit of money on it. It's got one good door on it that'll work for art. Whew. And then it's got a lot of good dash parts in it. A lot of just miscellaneous parts here and there that I can pull off of it. I thought about cutting the back of the cab off of it, but it's pretty beat up. So honestly, I probably won't mess with that. I'll think more about that later, but really the main thing I want to get off of here is the nose and probably the front bumper. Some people that buy these noses for furniture, they want the bumper with them, and some people don't. Me personally, I think it kind of depends on the truck. This truck here I think would look good without the bumper, but you know, some people like it with, some people like it without, so might as well just go ahead and save it. Normally I cut these right in line with these. I take these off and I cut them right here, but this is so rotted, I'm going to have to cut this one really, really short. So I'm going to have to cut it right about here, I think. I'm going to try to cut that piece off. So right there, it's still going to be really messed up over here, but then up here, normally I take the torch and I kind of cut down and around, makes them work pretty good. So we'll see what we do there. Now, normally I cut stuff with this right here, and there's a time and a place for this, but I like to run big blades because they seem to cut better and they last longer. And I have to take the guard off of this because I can only run up to a 4.5-inch blade on this tool. And a lot of people give me a hard time for taking the guard off because it's not really a safe or OSHA approved, if you want to say it that way. And there's always a chance of that blade exploding and launching chunks all over the place. So that's why I went out and I bought this Makita. This is one of the things I just got. I went to Home Depot and I was going to buy a Milwaukee, a large one like this, but they didn't have any in stock. So I just went ahead and grabbed a Makita. It's not that big a deal because it is powered. It's not a battery tool. I've already used it once actually, and it works like a dream. It'll buzz right through this, no problem. Way faster and easier than the other one. It does eat the blades up a little bit faster, but it works a lot faster too, so I guess it's worth it. Now the only issue is how do I run that? Because my power is all the way over there. I can't go set that truck cab over there because then I'll be in his way. So instead, I will use my handy dandy EcoFlow Delta 2 Max. A little over a year ago, I got the Delta Max, the original, and it has been a fantastic unit. I use it all the time. It's behind the scenes of almost every video I make. That's what I keep all my batteries charged with, all that type of stuff. I charge my camera batteries, I charge my mic batteries, I charge my power tool batteries. I've run lights with it before. I mean, I've done all sorts of stuff with that unit. I use it all the time. It's not usually featured in my videos, but it's usually in my truck and I get it out. I use it at least 2 or 3 times a week. So the other day, EcoFlow emailed me and said, hey, would you like our newer unit? It's a little bit different. And I said, you know what? Go ahead, send it to me. I'll try it out. I've already used it a couple times just to make sure everything's good to go, and it works fantastic. But I've used a lot of portable power stations, and I gotta say EcoFlow is definitely my favorite. Some of the main differences between the Delta Max and the Delta 2 Max is that the Delta 2 Max has a better quality battery. It's a little bit different type of battery. It lasts longer, it charges faster, it has an overall longer life cycle. Also, the Delta 2 Max has 2 solar plug-ins if you want to run it off of solar panels, whereas the Delta Max only had 1. So basically, in every way you can think of, it's an upgraded unit. The Delta 2 Max has a 2048 watt-hour battery capacity. It has an estimated 3,000 charging cycles before it hits 80% of battery capacity. That's about 6 times as many charging cycles as the original Delta Max. It's got 6 grounded AC outlets. And one cool thing about EcoFlows is they have something called an X-Boost, and on the Delta 2 Max, that will give you 3,400 watts. It's got 2 USB-A plugins, 2 USB-A fast charging plugins. There's 2 USB-C 100 watts. It's got a DC outlet and 2 barrel outlets. As I mentioned, it has 2 solar inputs. It's just an all-around fantastic unit that will work for all sorts of applications. Super handy to have for emergencies, whether you're working out in the field, anything like that. Well, I believe that's all the cutting I can do with that saw. I'm going to have to switch over to the torch now. I've got to make a cut right here and cut through all this with the torch. You can cut through it with whatever you want to. Just the torch is the easiest I've found on these Chevy trucks. And you cut through right here. You have to leave these bolts attached or else the whole thing kind of falls apart. Then you can kind of cut down like this and cut across that direction. Same thing back up over there. Then I can get the Sawzall out and I can go up in here and I can just cut the inner fender with the Sawzall. Before I do that though, there's one more thing I want to talk about on this, and that's this screen right here. This screen right here will tell you what percentage of battery life you have left. It'll tell you how many hours till empty. Obviously, I'm not using it right this second, so it's maxed out at 99. When you're charging it, it'll say what your input and wattage is right here. I think I have a video of that. I'll show that to you now. Then down here on the bottom, it shows you what your output in watts is. So what I'll do real quick is I'll just turn the saw on. As you can see, the output was almost 900 watts, a little under that. And then the hours remaining until empty was a little under 2 hours because it was bouncing back and forth between 1 and 2. Then it kind of stabilized on 2. So I could turn the trigger on this and hold the trigger down for roughly 2 hours before this would go dead. And that's incredible because this thing takes a ton of power to run. Realistically speaking, what I use these for is I charge my camera batteries, my phones, and then of course I've always got my battery tools with me for my impact and all my drills and my cut-off tools and all that sort of stuff. So we'll plug this in real quick and we'll see what it says. Super easy the way this thing works. I guess I can show you real quick how it all works. Let me turn it off. That's how you turn it off. You just hold that power button down. Now it's off. The way you turn it on is you hold the power button down. It'll kick on, it'll initialize, and then you see these little buttons right here on each section. There's one there, there's one back here as well. You just push that. Now this whole group of outlets is on. So let's plug this in. There we go, it's charging. You can see here it's got an output of roughly 80 watts, 79, 80 watts. It would charge this battery for 19 hours before this went dead. Now it does not take anywhere close to that long to charge one of these batteries. It actually takes, oh, actually this isn't even my good charger. My other charger is a rapid charge. It takes about 20 minutes to charge a battery. But many times I will have both of my chargers running, charging 2 batteries at once. I'll have camera batteries plugged in, that sort of stuff. I will leave the EcoFlow in my truck for sometimes 3 weeks before I take it in the house and charge it. So if you're just using it for that type of stuff, it lasts a long time. Now every now and then I get it out and I use it for stuff like this, or like my Sawzall. If you start using that stuff, it's not going to last quite as long. But still, I've taken it and I use it all week long before I have to take it in and charge it. And I should point out that that was all with the original Delta Max. The Delta 2 Max lasts even longer, so maybe I can go a week and a half of heavy use. When I go on a 3-day camping trip, I'll be running a microwave, mini fridge, all sorts of stuff. And I don't even have solar panels. I really should get solar panels. They're not that expensive, really. But anyway, I'll go on 3-day camping trips and I'll use the unit the whole time I'm there. Won't have any issues. This is a sponsored video by EcoFlow, so I have to give them a shout out, but I really do love their units. I use them. I've been using that other one for over a year now. Haven't had a single issue with it. It's been a fantastic unit. I'm sure this one will be as well. But anyway, we will get to some action here in just a minute, so stay tuned for that. But I do need to mention that right now EcoFlow has some awesome Christmas sales going on, all sorts of good deals. But if you don't need a unit this big, I'm not telling you to go out and spend the money and buy a unit this big. You may not need one that big. They've got a whole range of different sizes of units, and so there will be a link in the description below that takes you to their website in general. You can browse through their stuff, see which one works best for you. You will not regret it. If you're the sort of person that wants to take just a small unit camping, you'll love their products. If you want to take a big unit camping, that way you can run your electric skillet and you can run your mini fridge and you can run whatever you want to, and you want to hook some solar panels up to it because you're going to be gone all week. Right there's your unit. All that stuff's on there. I will put a link directly to this unit as well in case this is exactly what you want. I have people ask me all the time, Silas, if they didn't send it to you for free, would you spend the money and buy one yourself? And actually the answer to that is yes. Originally, when I first talked to EcoFlow over a year ago, I was getting ready to buy one of their units. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to message them and see what they say. And they were willing to work with me, work out a sponsor deal. But if they would have told me no, I still would have spent the money and I would not have regretted it one bit. This unit has been a lifesaver on many occasions. This unit has made me money. I don't know how many times I've been out in Timbuktu, hours away from home, no access to power, and all my batteries are dead on my cameras or my power tools or whatever. And so being able to keep those constantly charged has been an absolute game changer. Instead of having to have 20 batteries, now I only have to have 4 or 5, and that way one's always charged, ready to go. Don't forget to amp up this Christmas with EcoFlow Tech and get the best end-of-year deals up to 58% off, and you receive a free Christmas gift. Check out the links below and use my code O5XMASAMFS for 5% extra discount on both sites. If you don't watch the second channel, here's a little sneak preview of what's going on here. It looks a lot different out here. Just about everything is gone. They cut that tree down yesterday. They're coming back next week to cut this one down here. But yeah, that semi-trailer is gone. Everything that was out here is gone. Got all the dirt leveled out. Once it dries out, I'll have to come out here and level it out a little bit better. They're here now to pick up this load of scrap, get it out of here. I'm gonna have them come out and grind these stumps off. Boy, it's gonna look a lot different out here very soon. Sorry, I know that was off topic. I got completely distracted. I heard beeper noises out there and I went to see what it was, and I thought, you know what? They haven't seen this out here if they don't watch the second channel. So I'll show it to them real quick. But anyway, here it is. Doesn't look too bad really. It presents pretty good. It's got a little bit of damage. Then this rust over here, kind of an issue, but it's not that big of a deal. It's a little bit beat up. So this will make a good discount nose. Normally these are what I consider to be a premium nose. I get top dollar out of these old advanced design Chevys like this, but this one here would be much more affordable for somebody that isn't too picky about looks. It's been a while since I've done one of these by myself. I completely forgot about these brackets right here. I almost touched that, and that's still hot. But anyway, I forgot about those. I couldn't figure out why in the world it wasn't cutting on this side. Evidently I cut right through it on that side. But over here, I broke my blade on it. Not a big deal. Got the torch back out. I'm almost out of oxygen in the torch, so I had just enough for that. I do not have enough to cut the bumper off, though. I'll have to wait on that till another day. But for now, I'm just going to take this truck and stick it back where I got it. We'll finish cutting it up and parting it out another day. Let's see what percentage we're at on this right now. 92%. It was only at like 97% when I started today because I used it a little bit yesterday. So that's not bad at all. It took me 5% of a battery to cut this nose off. Check this out. I just won the bid on this. I thought it was going to go higher. What did I give for it? $585 for the 62 International, and it actually runs even. It's only like 20 minutes away from me. Normally I don't even check Big Iron because their stuff is scattered all over the country. It's always so far away. But this one was right local. That's got a ton of good parts on it that I can use on my crew cab. Plus, like I say, it runs and drives. So if I want to go back with the original engine, I can put it in my crew cab because my crew cab is locked up. Sorry, just another side note. Lots of side notes today. This EcoFlow weighs about 50 pounds, so pretty manageable. There we go. This old Toyota is pretty rough. Been sitting out in the field for a long time, not a whole lot left. It's got a few engine parts I'll probably pull off of it. I know that intake is worth a little bit of money, and there's a handful of parts on there still. Maybe a few dash parts if they're not too brittle. But beyond that, it's pretty well ready for the crusher. I thought this tailgate section was kind of cool. It's not as cool as the real old trucks, but you know, somebody might need that for something. It was super easy to pull. It didn't take long at all. Maybe 15-20 minutes total. These bolts right here, cutting through those was a super challenge. And this one here, you can kind of see now where I was going down into the frame, so no wonder it cut so hard. Would have been easier to cut those with the torch, but I didn't want to have to dig out my rack and all that. Let's see what the battery's at now. 87%. And I was running this Sawzall full blast for quite a long time, cutting through this bed and cutting through those bolts. I'm not going to mess with pulling the rest of the parts on this, but the main thing I wanted to do before I stashed it out back in the trees is get that piece cut off. That way I can advertise it for sale. I'm waiting on a guy that's bringing a load of junk out, so until he gets here, I don't want to go way out back and get started on anything. So I'll show you guys this Cadillac real quick. Pretty cool car. I don't remember what year it is. I don't remember if it's a 55 or 6 or what it is. Sometimes they say on the dash what they are. This one doesn't. Look at that there. Oil filter cartridge with the Cadillac logo on it. That's pretty cool. I bought this car out of a storage unit, and the guy said that he got it, or his family got it. They bought some property in Wyoming, a ranch, and this was on the property. And they said the people that they got that property from said this car was sitting on the property when they bought it. So it's been sitting a long time, but out there in Wyoming, stuff doesn't rust that bad. It's got some rust, but I mean, it's a 70-year-old car, so I don't know what people expect, but it's got a lot of potential. It's not all rotted out above the headlights. Really, the whole front clip's pretty good. Got some damage right there and a little bit of rust in the rocker panels, quarter panels. I don't know what's in the trunk. I can kind of look through the back seat, and I can see that the headlights are in there and the hubcaps. And then if nobody buys the whole car, I'll go ahead and cut the ends of it off and make it into furniture. But hopefully somebody has to have that. I'm going to go out back and hook up to my trailer here in just a second for tomorrow, but first I've got to get this stuff out of my truck. This is all on Marketplace. I don't know why I bought it, but it was cheap. or not, wasn't cheap, but it was very affordable. There's money to be made here, so I went ahead and bought it all. I have no clue what all's in here. I mean, obviously it's a bunch of quadrojets and a couple motorcrafts, but as far as what numbers are on these, I don't know. I'm assuming there's nothing special in here, but you never know until you scrape the numbers off and look them up. But for now, I'm just gonna grab them, throw them up there in the U-Haul, and then I'll go out back and I'll show you item number 3. And if you're wondering what I mean by item number 3, it means you weren't paying attention at the beginning of the video. The cutoff wheel was number 1, EcoFlow was number 2, and that's number 3. Here it is. I finally got one. I've always wanted one. Finally made the plunge. I actually went in 50-50 with my dad on this trailer. It's half his and half mine because I'm going to be using it for the junkyard and for antique cars. But this is what I always wanted, and I could never quite make it happen. I got this about a week ago, and I already need it tomorrow. This is a 36-foot Texas Bragg hydraulic dovetail, dual 12,000-pound axles. I upgraded just about everything on it. It's got heavier duty tires, heavier duty frame. Everything about it is heavier duty. That way I can haul the weight on it. It is a pretty heavy trailer. However, I still have quite a bit of capacity on this. Obviously it's a 24,000-pound trailer, and I can still haul about 16,000 pounds on it. One of my biggest things is a lot of times I have opportunity to buy old cars that are out in a tree row or out in a field or whatever, but you can't get to them. And so I thought, how cool would it be to have something like this to where I can run out there with the skid steer on the trailer, take the skid steer off, drag the car out of the trees, and then shove the car up on the trailer and then park the skid steer behind it, or vice versa, however you wanted to do it, and then you're good to go. Or if I go to auctions that are a long ways away, now I can put a winch on this trailer and I can haul 2 cars at once. Like tomorrow, the reason why I'm hooking up to the trailer now is I have to drive all the way to Lyons, which is not that far of a drive, but it's about a 40-minute drive, 45-minute drive, and being able to haul 2 cars at once is gonna save me a ton of time. Instead of having to do a 2-day job, it's only going to be a 1-day job. This trailer will actually be in another video that I already recorded. However, that video will come out after this video does. So if you're watching me a few videos from now and you see me talking about this trailer again, no, it's not a new trailer again. It's the same one. It's just 2 different videos recorded at 2 different times. This thing already did claim its first victim, my tailgate, the day I brought it in here. Once again, that will be in a different video, so you just stay tuned. I'll tell you all about that then. Yeah, clear the front.
Back to you just a little bit. What? Back to you just a little bit.
Left or right?
Back. Straight back. Back up a little. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Better hook it. There we go.
Yeah, he's gonna get out of there.
And good morning. We are back today. It was a crazy weekend. Had a bunch going on. I just threw all these cars off the trailer as I was bringing them in, and I had to hit the road again. They're coming to take this tree out though, so I've got to get them all moved in the yard. I figure we'll take a second though before they get here and look them over a little bit. There's some pretty cool ones here, like this old Power Wagon. It's a little on the rough side, but it's not too terrible, honestly. The windshield being busted out is the worst part of it. There's no engine in it, and then somebody must have put a car motor in it or something, and they notched the frame out, which is kind of unfortunate, but I mean, it's still a very workable truck, and it's a short bed Power Wagon. You just don't see them that often anymore. Rambler wagon, he didn't really want to let go of it. Of all the vehicles that I bought, this is the one here I probably overpaid on. It's one of those deals where I'm buying a lot of vehicles at once, and I hated to be picky, so I just said, you know what, I'll just take them all. Got this old 5-window Dodge. This is just an old grain truck here. Pretty cool truck. It's got a lot of good parts on it. Really, the cab's pretty solid. If somebody wanted a 5-window cab, that one there is very workable. And then this one here is one of the coolest ones in my opinion. This old half-ton 5-window Dodge. This one here should bring decent money if I clean it up a little bit, get some tires on it, vacuum it out, wash it up a little bit. This ought to be a pretty good money maker right here. That was one of the main ones that I wanted. Very solid truck. It's got a little bit of damage to the door over here, but almost no rust at all in this thing. Then next up, we've got this old K10. It's missing one of the brake drums, but most of the four-wheel drive setup is complete. The transmission, transfer case, axles are both here. However, the drive shafts are completely tacoed. He was just gonna crush them, so he wasn't careful with them when he moved them around, but that's okay. The only bad thing about this one, once again, is somebody has swapped the cab out and it has a C10 cab on it instead of a K10. So that's kind of unfortunate, but just the chassis, the axles, transfer case, all that's gonna be worth a little bit. Plus it's got a good looking nose on it, so a lot of good stuff here really. Next up, we got this old Ford panel truck. I think this is a 55. I'm not an expert on these. It's a 53, 4, or 5, one of those three. He was gonna keep this and make a sign out of it to put out front, but he said the other day when he was crushing cars that he did that right there, put a big dent in it. And so he thought, you know what, I just need to get rid of stuff because I'm just gonna tear it up if I keep it here. So he went ahead and sold it to me. It's pretty stripped out. It's missing a lot of parts, but it is a panel truck and it's an old panel truck, so I thought it was pretty cool. So I went ahead and bought it. Next up is a 1960 Ford F100. Got the chrome grille in it, and it's the pickup grille too. I've got a bunch of these in big trucks, but I don't have any pickup chrome grills, so that's pretty cool. 3 on the tree. Not a bad truck. I mean, it's got some rust issues. It definitely does. Typical Ford, it's all rusted out right there, and then all of the braces where the bed mounts to the frame, some of those are rusted out as well. So I mean, it's got some rust issues, but these trucks always do. It's very hard to find one of these era Ford trucks that's rust free. So that one there's kind of borderline whether it's going to be a restorable truck or whether it's a parts truck. One thing that is cool is it has a factory set of wheels on it. That's going to be worth a little bit of money right there. Next up is a 1967 Thunderbird. This is honestly probably the main one that I wanted. If you guys watch my channel, you know I really like Thunderbirds. And what's really cool about this one is it spent most of its life in a barn or in a shed, so it's really not in too terrible a condition. The floors on it, there's some dents over here where he picked it up with the forks, with those funky real thick forks that he has. Those are kind of a scary deal. And then it's got a little bit of rust right here, but really not bad. There's still paint on the floors underneath actually. So it's got a lot of good parts going. Oh, before I forget, it's got an AM FM radio on it. Very rare, very valuable piece. Most of these came with an AM radio, but if you can find one with an AM 8-track or an AM FM, you got a chunk of money on your hands. And then one other really rare thing about this car, I don't know that it's worth any money, but it's a neat novelty to me at least, is it has the Thermactor air system on it. You see these little extra vents here? Most 67 Thunderbirds don't have these. However, my 4-door that I've been working on restoring for the last 20 years has that system on it, and I've never seen another one. So when I saw that this car has that same system, I thought, you know what, I have to have that. The Thermactor system really didn't work that good, and I'll never hook it back up, but just having an extra front bumper, I like the little extra vents in there, kind of makes it look unique and cool, so having an extra bumper is a big plus. These are going to be in a separate video. Get ready to do a treasure hunt video, so I'm not going to look at them yet. These came from an impound auction. We ended up buying, I think, I can't remember now, 11, 12, 13, 14 cars. I can't remember what all we bought there, but these are some of the better ones here. So this is your sneak preview. I got a Hummer H3, a 6.0 liter Denali, and then this square body truck over here. But like I say, those are all going to be in a separate video, so we're not going to worry about those right now. And next up, or last up I should say, well actually it's not last, I'll tell you about that in a second. But he had this old Dodge truck here. I had to pay pretty good money for it just because it's so big and heavy. And he gets almost the same price we get for crushed cars. He actually just crushed like 600 tons of cars. He just uses an excavator to crush them. His yard isn't nearly as big as ours, but he goes through a lot of material through there. Mainly he does a lot of oil field type stuff, but he does a few cars here and there as well, farm cleanups, that type of stuff. But anyway, I had to pay pretty good money for this truck, but it is nearly rust free, and you don't see these medium duty Dodges of this year in this condition very often. So I thought somebody will want this cab. Once again, unfortunately, the steps got all bent up because of those monstrosity forks that he has. And then this car here was one that he did on a farm, or got on a farm cleanup, and he was just thinking about crushing it, but then he thought he might just stick it out in the field for art. Didn't know what he was going to do with it, so I went ahead and bought it from him. It's pretty rough, but it does have a lot of good art potential on it. It's got a good looking nose on it, I think, but I need to double check out. I've got that coupe that this might be the same year. If it's the same year, this will have a lot of parts that coupe needs, and so somebody wanted to buy both of them or buy the coupe and then strip this one out to go with the coupe. Somebody could do something like that. So some good stuff there. And then he had that 50, what was it, a 58 or 9, I forget what year it was. It was that Super Duty truck. I wanted to buy the whole thing, but it was just extremely heavy because it was a tandem axle truck, and I just couldn't afford the whole thing. So I just bought the nose off of it and the doors, and then we pulled the instrument cluster out of it as well. It also had that auxiliary transmission or whatever you want to call it, but Sean took that. And I think it actually had a Y-block in it too, a Lincoln Y-block. And so I think Sean got the motor, transmission, and that auxiliary transfer case, which that will be for sale. If you want to contact Sean and buy something like that, he's on Instagram under the handle Dead Wrench. You can contact him on there. You can send him a message. I'm sure it's going to be for sale. But that was kind of his payment for setting up the deal and helping me get everything moved. Plus, he got a car. He got a 54 Chevy from me a while back, and I told him I would just trade him out. So he helped with his trailer hauling, and then I hauled with my trailer, which this trailer did wonderful. I was really impressed with this thing. I didn't know how it was going to pull. I've never pulled a trailer this big, but I just floated down the highway 70 miles an hour, no problem. It's taken a little bit getting used to making corners and stuff with this big long trailer and backing up with it. I'm not used to that, so I'm not very good at it yet, but I didn't wreck anything, so we're all good. I say I haven't wrecked anything. I did rip my tailgate off, but that's a total separate deal. But anyway, I've got to get all this stuff moved in. I got a guy here now to pick up a truck, so I got to dig that out for him. Got a bunch going on, so I'm gonna get busy working. I'll come back and I'll talk to you guys here in just a little bit. All right, guys, I told you I had some big news about this building. I finally had time. It's actually been a couple days now. It's just been crazy, crazy, crazy. But anyway, I'm in here now. I got some big news. As you notice, it's completely empty. As you can see, this is a pretty good sized shop. It's nothing huge, it's nothing fancy. It's pretty well insulated, other than there's some gaps under the doors I need to fix. This is just a really nice shop in here. It did have some old lights in it, and he actually took those out and put these LEDs in, but he threw the old ones away. So when he moved out, he went ahead and left these in here for me. But basically, I bought this property 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, and almost immediately, I mean, I'm talking just a few weeks after I bought this property and signed on it, I had a buddy of mine was thinking about starting a mechanic shop, and he was looking for a place to do it, and this building here was the perfect location. It was outside the city limits, and it was just a nice shop. It was perfect for him to get started. And so he rented it for quite a long time, really. And then finally he decided that it just wasn't working. He didn't want to do it anymore, wanted to do other things. He had a good paying job, stuff like that. Within a week or two of him moving out, the guy that was renting my big barn way down there that does the sandblasting and that sort of stuff, he said, well, I'd like to rent that. I could use some more shop space. So he ended up renting this and that office that's over here. So long story short, after 3 years now, I've never been able to use this building, that office, or that big barn over there. However, the sandblasting guy is slowly but surely working on moving out. He bought a nice big building that he's able to do everything all in one location, and he doesn't have to pay rent anymore. It's just his, and he can do whatever he wants to with it. And plus, it's a lot bigger shop than this anyway. He's still in the big barn down there where he does the sandblasting and the office, but once he gets that other building all completely set up and ready to go, he'll be moving out of those as well. He doesn't want to quit everything he's doing just to move, because he'll lose a bunch of business if he does that. And so I understand where he's coming from, and it doesn't bother me. This was the main building I was really, I don't want to say I was impatient for him to move out, because he's been a good renter. I've never had any issues. He's a great guy to work with. But at the same time, I've got these really big ideas in my head that I wanted to do, and I needed a shop to do them in. So I am just really stoked to have this building now. As far as what I'm going to do in this building, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to arrange it yet. I've got a lot of space in here, and I don't want to just stack stuff in here and completely ruin all the space. I want this to be a workstation. I don't want to put stuff in here. I don't want this to become storage. Now, I say that, I do have one old truck that I really don't want to be sitting outside. I'm probably going to take it and park it either inside this door, or I may actually park it up closer to this door. In all honesty, I'm probably going to be using these back doors more than the front doors, so I'll probably go ahead, like I say, and just park my truck over here. It's just an old short bed Dodge, so it doesn't take up that much room, so I'll still have all of this side over here to work with, plus all this back here, plus I'll have this whole wall right here. But I have all sorts of tools that I've accumulated over the years. I've got a nice plasma cutter, I've got 2 nice air compressors, I've got shop vacs, I've got welders, I've got you name it. And right now I don't have any place to use that stuff. And so I've got my air compressors in one location. I've got my plasma cutter in another location stored. I've got my shop vac in another location stored. And I've never really had a building to use them. And so they just all sit there, and I hardly ever use those tools. But now I'll be able to put all my tools in here. I'll have instant access to them. I'll put shelves and I'll have everything organized. I'm not gonna, like I say, I'm not gonna just throw it all in here. I probably won't move everything in yet just because I wanna wait and get an alarm system on this. It has cameras and all that right now, but that all belongs to the renter. And so once he moves out of the other buildings, he's gonna take all that with him. So there won't be anything here, which wouldn't be safe. So I wanna go ahead and get my own security system put in. But for now, some of the things I wanna do is I wanna go ahead and grab my torch. You know, I'm out here torching out back behind the building all the time. My torch is all the way over there beside that semi-trailer on the other side, and I have to do all my torching out here in the mud. So now what I'll be able to do is I'll put my torch right here inside this door, and I'll put it on it's on a cart already actually, and that way I can just wheel it out. I can park it right here. I can bring whatever I'm cutting right over here. I can put my racks over here, whatever I need to do, and I can do all my cutting right here. If I need to do something where I have to lay underneath a vehicle or something like that, I can go ahead and just put it up here on the cement. This is just going to be super handy. This is going to give me a place to where if I have an old car that has a rat nest or something like that in it, I can bring it up here and set it back here on this, and I can get the shop back out. I can clean it out. Won't be a big deal. I'm also going to get me a pressure washer. I have water on the other side of the building, so I can set a car out front, and I can take my pressure washer out and I can pressure wash it, clean it up, all that good stuff. I have a couple really nice workbenches that I've had for a long time. One of them actually has been sitting outside, so it's kind of covered in surface rust. I'll have to clean that up a little bit, but I've got these really nice benches. I've got some really nice shelves that I've had in storage that I've been saving and waiting, that I actually got back when I first bought this property, or thought I was going to buy this property, and I was planning on moving in the shop immediately. But back in those days, I didn't have a YouTube channel. I didn't have nearly as much stuff. Business wasn't going as good as it is now. I desperately needed the rental income off of this place to be able to pay the mortgage on the property. But now I'm finally at a point to where I can make enough money using this building to where I don't have to rent it out. So I'm just really stoked. I'll stop wasting your time and talking about it, but there's just a lot of big things, a lot of game changers happening right now out here at the Junkyard. I got the new EcoFlow. That's awesome. Once again, if you need a portable power station, definitely check in EcoFlow. I highly recommend them. The link is in the description below. Go check them out. I've got my new trailer, another game changer. If you want to check those out, so far, I don't want to recommend that brand yet. Let's hold off on that. I haven't had that trailer for that long. I've had people ask about my smaller trailer, the Max D, and I love that trailer. I highly recommend Max D trailers. However, they're very expensive. That's why I didn't buy a Max D hydraulic dovetail trailer, just because it was $10,000 more than this trailer was. But let's say after 6 months, if that trailer's still holding up, then I'll give it a good recommendation. And then last but not least, we just talked about it. This is another game changer right here. So I am super stoked for all the stuff going on. Stay tuned. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up. January's coming up. When January comes, I'm still going to post videos. I just may not post quite as many. I've really been trying to hammer out 2 a week, and I have 2 every week all the way through November and December. That being said, I do plan on making a few extra videos for the second channel. But anyway, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up. I will let you all go. I'm just talking now. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. And remember to get out there, find yourself an adventure. We'll see you next time.